Welcome to the GCN Racing News Show.
This week, hot or not, we are going to take a look at the 2021 World Tour team kits, and you have decided their rankings. Who are the winners and the losers? Find out very soon.
Plus, Mark Hirschi has left DSM, or Team Somewhere, but where is he going? Chris Froome is set to miss his first team training camp. Tom Dumoulin is set to ride the Tour of Flanders. And we also had a couple of cyclocross national championships that were able to take place despite COVID. This week in the world of racing, we learnt what new kit day is like if you're world champion.
Woo, that is a lot, isn't it?
It is a lot, yeah. You can make a shed load on eBay at the end of the year, couldn't you? Brand new with tags and all that.
Yeah, it's a shame it just looks like last year's kit, doesn't it? But anyway, we also learned that warm weather training camps are not always warm weather training camps.
No, that's right. So this is Team Ineos not getting the vitamin D they were hoping for over in Gran Canaria, where it pissed it down mid-training ride.
Yeah, and finally this week in racing, we learned that some kits are hot and some kits are not.
Yeah, now this is normally the time of the year where Si and I cast our expert judgment on the latest, greatest, terrific, and sometimes horrific new World Tour team kits. However, we can now both move aside because it's you who've been busy voting over on the GCN app on whether kits are hot or not.
Yes, now rest assured, we will most certainly be giving our expert opinions, but unfortunately this year we will be overruled, basically, if we disagree with you lot.
We will. And so, since we have definitive opinions from all of you, we thought we may as well do this in reverse order this year, from least hot, almost cold in fact, to scorching hot. So if you're a pro rider in the World Tour, you do not want to hear your team name mentioned for at least the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, basically you want your team to be mentioned last,
well, yeah,
don't you, really?
That's it.
Although any complaints, of course, it's nothing to do with us now, just blame the general public.
Yeah, or your kit designers, because they've done a bad job.
Yes, right, I think it is time for the big reveal. Are you ready? Because in last place, with just 31% of the general public voting their kit hot, it's Intermarché Wanty-Goubert.
Oh dear. That is not the way you want to start out life in the World Tour. They, of course, have taken over that World Tour licence from CCC of the last couple of years. Now, whilst I'm not particularly bowled over by this kit, I don't think it's that bad. But that being said, I was expecting something out of this world from the Intermarché kit this year because it was designed by Stikel Designs, who, inspired by the EF Palace collab last year, reinvented every World Tour kit on their Instagram page with some absolutely stonking designs. Unfortunately, this isn't one of them.
No, maybe Stikel Designs got stage fright because it isn't great, is it? But, you know, maybe it's just because it's not a collaboration with Supreme or Louis Vuitton. Anyway, moving on, our next lowest ranked kit, 43% hot, is Groupama FDJ.
With a very similar kit, almost exactly the same to last year's. Not particularly inspiring, so that would have been a not hot from me as well.
Yeah, all right, next up, we have the other French World Tour team, now named AG2R Citroën, or AG Desert Citroën. I think you could call this like a Marmite kit, because not only is part of it brown, it's literally a 50-50 split amongst voters between hot and not.
Yeah, it has had a complete redesign in 2021, at least the jersey has. The shorts, as Si said, remain the same brown number of the last decade or so.
To be fair, mate, once you've gone brown shorts, you kind of got to stay there, haven't you? One day they'll become cool. Anyway, I particularly liked this comment from P. Braithwaite 665, who said that the jersey actually reminds him of a Pritt stick.
I do see the resemblance now that you say it, yeah. Maybe they should have stuck to the old design side. Anyway, moving very quickly on, all other team kits have been voted predominantly hot by you, the public, so they can all breathe a sigh of relief. But next up, it is Trek Segafredo Men's.
Ooh, another kit which hasn't really changed from last year, just tipped in favour of hot, as Dan said, with 51% voting that way. It would be a hot from me, although, you know, it's smart and it's neat, but it's a bit boring. Isn't it?
Hasn't changed much for a couple of years, has it?
No.
Anyway, next on our list is the Israel Startup Nation, who've changed their kit quite a bit compared to last year.
Thank goodness.
White shoulders and a much darker blue for the rest of the kit. This is, of course, what Chris Froome, Mike Woods and Sepp Van Mark, amongst others, will be racing with this year. And it narrowly edged out Trek with 52% hot.
Well, narrowly edging them out are Lotto Soudal, who have stuck with their now traditional red, black and white design, modelled here by Philippe Gilbert, who of course has a whole load of rainbow bands to add to it as well. I think I'd give that one a hot. You know, like, It's kind of cool. I'd be glad to get that. Yeah.
I think I'd go with a not hot for that one. Yeah, it's not really doing it for me either. Well,
if it ain't broke, don't change it, I guess, probably their philosophy. Anyway, they're actually on equal footing with FDJ Nouvelle Atlantique, which is the women's World Tour team. And they've got a different kit design to the men's, predominantly white top with blue and red accents and classy black shorts.
It's a completely different entity, the FDJ women's team versus the men's, apparently, yeah. Again, though, that kit not particularly doing it for me, so that would be another not hot.
It's a not for me as well, yeah.
Is it? Moving on to a kit that received 59% hot, and it's another women's World Tour squad, Ali BTC Ljubljana. A bold design, which I actually thought would do better than it has. This would definitely be a hot from me, even if I don't think I could carry it off personally.
You think you could carry the other kits off?
No, I probably couldn't do that either. That wasn't what I was saying.
No, to be fair, I like it. They were awful last year, but in being more awful this year, they've become cool again. Anyway, moving on now to two more teams who are tied on votes. UAE Team Emirates and Team Bike Exchange, which we will start with. So gone is the black and yellow, and in is white, black, and the all-important Bianchi Celeste. Bianchi, of course, being their new bike sponsors.
It's all right, isn't it?
I hate it, mate.
I can't help feel it could have been so much better than it is. That actually would be a not hot from me, personally.
Not hot from me.
60% of you, though, did vote that one hot.
And you, of course, are right, and we, of course, are wrong. You also voted 60% for UAE Team Emirates. Subtle changes from last season on this one, but with more black on the arms. Again, it doesn't wow you, does it? Even when it's worn by Tour de France winner Tadej Pogacar. I'm slightly concerned by the red sweat patches.
It's like it's been taken with a heat radar camera, isn't it? All right, we're going to move on to the all-important top 10.
Woo.
And we also have a tie for the next two places, which means that equal ninth are Liv Racing and De Koning Quickstep. So let's start with Liv. Another bold design, which is completely different from the CCC Liv Orange of last year. As you'd expect, I guess, given that Shoemaker is no longer sponsoring the team. So it's a black and purple jersey with flowers on the shoulder.
Yeah, I like it. You reckon you can pull that one off, Dan?
No, I probably wouldn't look good in that one either. But nevertheless, it's a hot from me, and also from 64% of you, as was the Koning Quickstep.
Yeah, well, that is a classic look, isn't it? I mean, a hark back to the Tom Boonen days of that team, and that's no bad thing. And there's also a lot to be said for classic looks, isn't it?
Hot from you?
Yes, although only just.
Yeah, same with me, I think. Moving on then to 8th place, step forward, Bahrain Victorious. McLaren have gone, obviously, hence the new name, which I think is rather presumptuous, isn't it? I think we're all waiting for March, and if they haven't taken a win, there's loads of big jokes that we can have courtesy of their victorious name. Anyway, more red on the kit this year, whilst keeping that blue on the sleeves, plus black shorts.
Yeah, to be honest, I am quite surprised about how high up on the list this sits. But,
I am, yeah.
It would have been lower down for me.
Not hot?
It's not that it's not hot, it's just a bit meh, I think.
Yeah, okay. Oh, well, let's see if this next one does it for you, Si, because an equal 6th, unchanged from last year's kit, is Team Ineos Grenadiers. They've stuck with the blue, with that red chevron in the middle of the jersey. Quite a simple but effective design, which 72% of you voted hot.
Yes, now I like this, Dan. I like dark blue cycling kit. Yes, I like it. Another jersey that's almost completely unchanged from last year, Movistar, men's and women's teams. Now, I actually voted not hot on this, purely because it's remained unchanged, not just from last year, but seemingly for a few years, and I will never forgive them for losing the navy blue.
Well, I think it does stand out from the crowd with that colour, although it needed to last year because the men's team only took 2 wins, didn't they?
Ouch.
Well, only joking, of course. I'm sure they will win more in 2021 on the men's side, but definitely on the women's side because they've of course got the addition of Annemiek van Vleuten.
Indeed. Now we've got another almost unchanged kit in number 5 we're up to. Another team who now also have a men's and a women's squad. It's Jumbo-Visma.
74% of you voted this kit hot. I mean, it might not be changed drastically from last year, but that picture there with the 3 riders does look slightly different, doesn't it? And I prefer it to last year's, even if I couldn't tell you why.
It's probably the Cervelo in front of it, isn't it?
Well, actually on last week's Racing News show, I said that I wasn't a fan of it with the yellow forks.
No, they do look like a bit of an afterthought, don't they? I wonder whether Cervelo, like a lot of bike brands, have run out of stock and they just had some yellow forks knocking around.
Run out of paint.
Plugged in. Yeah, and paint as well, yeah. Anyway, right, fair enough. Just off the podium, in 4th place, with a new name and a completely different kit, it's Team DSM, formerly Sunweb. I
was surprised at this one as well. I mean, I do like it, but not that much. But 75%, 3/4 of you, in fact, voted this one hot.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. You can't go wrong with black unless it's sweltering hot, although apparently they do have a special fabric which probably cools you down or something. I think mainly it's just so new. The whole setup just looks really new, which is good. Right, the moment you have all been waiting for, it is the podium, and actually we've got a tie on the second step.
We do indeed. So equal second are Bora Hansgrohe and Trek Segafredo Women's.
Well, let's start with Bora, shall we? Familiar green this year with black shorts, but more white on top. Classy, I think. In fact, I think I like it.
It's hot from you?
Yes, it's a hot from me.
It's a hot from me as well. Anyway, equal on 77% with Bora Hansgrohe is Trek Segafredo Women's, which is a much bigger departure from last year on the women's side than it is for the men's team. So as you can see, turquoise blue with dark blue sleeves and shorts, modelled here by Elisa Longo Borghini. I'm a big fan of this kit, and I'm not at all surprised actually to see it do so well in the public vote, but it's not the winner, of course.
It is not. Now, many of you will have guessed which kit has come up trumps, but for those of you who are still waiting in anticipation, a drum roll, please. The winner, as voted for by you for the best World Tour team kit in 2021, is SD Works.
Wow. Formerly Bulls Dormans, of course, the team now has a new name and a striking new red and purple kit, which a whopping 85% of you voted hot. So congratulations to the team, congratulations to the designer. This kit's going to stand out from the crowd, isn't it, in 2021? Partly down to the striking colours, but mainly because that team normally has a hell of a lot of wins in a season, don't they?
It does. We should also, Dan, address the elephant in the room, which is that there's some significant absentees from this list. And that's because a number of teams still haven't actually released their new designs. Some of the teams being strong contenders for the victory. Canyon SRAM, perennial favourites. EF Pro Cycling, perennial favourites. And also Assos, or Quebec Assos rather, who've actually asked their fans to design the kit for them this year. We've seen a few. They look absolutely fantastic and not total rubbish.
They do.
As well.
They do look great, don't they? We'll see those in the next couple of weeks. Another team we missed was Coffidis, whose new kit we were waiting to be released. But I spoke to their general manager, Cedric Vasseur, who told me that their kit will remain unchanged this year versus last.
Such a name dropper. Right, what will change next year is that they are the latest men's World Tour team to have a women's World Tour team as well. So that will make 9 of the current 19 men's World Tour teams who will have a women's squad in 2022. Which is great. Not enough, but great.
No, it's really good. Moving on, the biggest news last week was the shock announcement from Team DSM that Mark Hirschi would be leaving that team with immediate effect.
Yeah, so he was arguably their most successful rider in 2020 with some incredible performances at the Tour de France, including that stage win and also a memorable victory at La Flèche Wallonne. Anyway, the announcement has left many people speculating about the possible reasons. And whilst it hadn't been confirmed by his former team, who said they will make no further comment, the fact that he was later announced as the newest rider on UAE Team Emirates, I kind of think tells us all we need to know.
Yeah, he'd already signed and the team found out, hadn't they? That's right, DSM manager Ivan Spurkenbroek, he's well known for being a stickler for some very stringent rules and implementation of them within the team. And so it may well be that he either got wind of Hirschi having signed elsewhere, or Hirschi was simply honest and told him. Anyway, he's the latest in a rather long list of star riders who have suddenly left that squad, including the likes of Tom Dumoulin and Marcel Kittel.
Now, speaking of UAE, again, all of their riders and staff received a COVID vaccine at their team training camp in the United Arab Emirates, including Hirschi, as well as Tour de France champion Tadej Pogačar.
That's right, although Pogačar is going to have to delay the start to his season, unfortunately, because news came out last week that the 5 Mallorcan one-day races, which is where he was due to compete at the end of this month, have unfortunately been postponed until May.
Yeah, it's another blow, that one, isn't it? But another announcement that I don't think all that many of us were that surprised about. COVID cases here in Europe are rising at an alarming rate, so unfortunately, there may well be more races to follow soon.
Well, fingers crossed there aren't. But it also wouldn't be a surprise to see any announcements along that line, would it?
No.
Most teams, though, are going ahead with their training camps as planned, and that includes the Israel startup nation who are going to head to Girona, minus their new star recruit Chris Froome, who's going to remain where he has been for some time, over in the US, where he is continuing with his training and also his rehab from that injury.
Yeah, it's a strange one, this, isn't it? I mean, I think no doubt better for Froome to limit travel, concentrate his training in one place. But for the team overall, I mean, he's such a big name that I just feel like his presence at the first team training camp will be so important to the, team morale, if nothing else. Like, he's Chris Froome.
I'd agree. His absence
team.
is going to be felt, I think, at that first training camp, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Another big piece of news last week, even though it really shouldn't be in 2021, is that cyclocross pro rider Justin Levens has come out as gay. Cycling, like many professional sports, does seem to be a bit behind the times on this front, since Justin is the first male pro that I know of, or can remember from the past, to come out as gay. And given how many male pro cyclists there are out there, and have been, there have to be others that are gay who just feel that there's still enough of a stigma attached to it, perhaps from their peers or maybe from the fans. They're not comfortable in revealing their true sexuality.
Yeah, which is what makes Justin's decision such a courageous one, and one that I'm sure and I hope is going to really help other riders, current or future. So well done, Justin.
I'm sure it will. Before we move on to cyclocross, Tom Dumoulin has revealed his early season racing programme for this year. So he isn't set to compete until at least March, provisionally at Strade Bianche. But yet another GC rider he is, who's decided to try his hands, or at least his legs, on the cobbles. He'll compete at the Ronde van Vlaanderen in early April.
It's not his first time at the race though, is it? He did it as a neo-pro for Argos Shimano in 2012. And as a Dutchman, you've got to say, he's going to be more than used to this style of racing, but I am interested to know how he gets on.
Me too. It is always fascinating, isn't it, to look at how general classification riders get on at the cobbled classics. Yeah. I think we were hoping for more of them to compete there last year, but of course we had no Paris-Roubaix. But normally, they're a bit afraid of doing Flanders, and particularly Roubaix, because of the dangers. They might well do well at it, but of course they don't want to ruin their season goal, which often is either the Giro d'Italia or the Tour de France.
No. Alaphilippe's not going to help that fact, is it?
No, but he is back now, isn't he? Anyway, when Dumoulin does it, you'd imagine that he's going to be at the service of team leader Wout van Aert, wouldn't you? Speaking of which, actually, Belgium was one of the places where they did hold their national cross championships, and he bagged his 4th national title after going solo just after the 3rd lap. In post-race interviews, he's actually admitted that he didn't sleep very well for the last 6 days, and I think that might be something to do with the arrival of a certain baby George.
Oh, really? Well, congratulations to the Van Aerts. Sanne Cant continued her fantastic streak at the Nationals by taking number 12 in a row. That's amazing, isn't it? Ahead of Lotte Kopecky, Felipe Orts and Lucia Gonzalez Blanco took home the Spanish elite titles, whilst in Italy, the honours went to Giole Bertolini and Alice Maria Arzuffi.
Which is amazing, actually, because I was just looking at her result and I can't believe it's her first tricolour jersey when you consider the results she's been picking up over the last couple of years. Over in Switzerland, snowy, frozen conditions made it a tricky day out for the riders. Nicole Koller mastered the treacherous course and took a maiden elite national title by over 2 minutes, in fact, from Zina Bahumi. While in the men's event, it was Kevin Kuhn who took the win in his first attempt at the elite national, so he's definitely one to watch at the World Championships coming up later this month, of course.
Definitely. Now, finally in France, we were treated with a couple of exciting heads-up duels. Agile Citroën's Clément Venturini found the, do you like that?
Yeah, very good.
He found the punchy parkour to his liking and finally shook Joshua Dubout on the penultimate lap to take his 4th national cyclocross title. In the women's, though, there was a big upset. An early crash from Marion Norbert-Ribeyrolles put her on the back foot, which left Perrine Clausel and Amandine Fouquenet battling for the tricolore. A slip from Clausel on the final lap handed Fouquenet the opportunity to break the deadlock, and she took full advantage with a well-timed surge to take her first elite national title at just 19 years of age.
More success for kids in the elite category. Just before we finish, track star Gregory Bourget has announced his retirement from the sport, or at least from competing. 35-year-old won 9 elite world championships in sprint events over his career, as well as taking a total of 4 medals at the Olympic Games. So congratulations to Gregory on what's been an incredible career.
Absolutely. He'd be gutted that the Olympics got postponed, wouldn't he?
Yeah, well, he said he's just not firing on all cylinders at the moment. He's only at 90%, so he didn't want to take a spot at the Olympics.
Well, fair enough. Right, that is it for the Racing News Show for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give it a big thumbs up.
And let us know in the comments if you agree or disagree with the public votes, not ours. Bye for now.